Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to the Mixer, and today's video is going to be something that I'm really excited to talk about, It's going to be another one of those concept vlogs, A concept vlog, in case you guys don't know, is this new term that I'm coining on my channel where it's a vlog where I literally just talk, It's the intro and then me talking and the outro, with a little background music, so not a lot of fancy editing, no clips or photos or anything, just me talking to you guys. I'm doing these a little bit more often now so I can just chill, and relax and talk with you guys, and kind of like not have too much work in the editing process because I am falling a little bit behind. I was trying to give you guys 2 uploads per day for a while, but I kind of underestimated how hard it would be. So I'm a little late on schedule, but I am still giving you guys content every day. So I'm going to be doing more of these concept vlogs so I can talk to you guys and get your opinion on stuff, kind of like a way for me to use Twitter outside of Twitter, let's say, But anyway, so this is a very good tie-in video to my top 10 basketball players of all time that I did a long time ago. So here's the thing. I'm going to be talking today about what constitutes the best player in basketball, the best player within the NBA. Now, this here obviously is very opinionated, and actually the communities are very divided over this, because there are different. I was actually having a conversation with my old man earlier today, at the time of recording earlier today. Like, this video was going to happen anyway. It was already on my spreadsheet and I wanted to record it, but it kind of inspired me more, this conversation with my dad, because we were talking about different athletes across different generations, so basically what we were doing is having a little discussion about how he thinks that the athletes of his generation are much better than the ones of this generation now, because back then they were just better, they had more ability, more skill, and they gave much more to the game. This is true to a certain degree, but it still is an opinion. You cannot deny that certain sports, like for example soccer or football, yes, the players were much better back in the day because they actually had much more endurance and durability, and also just overall they were skilled in their own way, but the game was also much different back then. It was a lot harder. The same goes for basketball, American football, hockey, pretty much any game. If you go back into the day, it's pretty much much harder than it is today. Basketball is the one game that I think is still kind of similar, because it has evolved a lot throughout the years, and today in the NBA you can still find a lot of very skilled players, a lot more than you would find in soccer or football, for example, at least in my opinion. With hockey it's the same thing. Besides Wayne Belinsky, I always butcher his name, Wayne Belinsky, I'm gonna put his name here if I get it wrong, the best hockey player of all time. Like, aside from him, like who have there been in the last few years, that have been even close to his level? Basketball is different. In every single decade it's not just 1 or 2, man. There's like over a dozen really good players, easily over a dozen. It's almost like every single team has their own player that can kind of sort of like make that team be the face of their own franchise, So, and I think that if you're young, you're part of this generation now and you're starting to watch basketball now, then you're going to think that LeBron James is obviously the best, If you caught maybe 10 years ago, a little bit, or even less than 10, but anywhere around a decade or so ago, you will have seen Kobe Bryant in his prime, so you might think he's the best, Then you go just a little further back into the 90s, then you saw Michael Jordan, who definitely is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. So the thing is that if you go even further back, you're gonna see that there have been different players, because every decade has their Jordan, let's say, because Jordan was the cornerstone. Jordan is like the definition that we always go by. It's the one player that we always compare all the other ones to. But every decade had their own player with their own individual skill, Now, the NBA has had a lot of dominant players ever since the 50s, man, like there were always good players ever since it began, but we're talking about players who revolutionized the game, You start off with George Keaton back in the 50s, then you have in the 60s you have Bill Russell playing a little bit with Will Chamberlain. Into the 70s you have Kareem Jabbar, and even more players as well. You had some really, really good players like Jerry West, also in the Lakers, Climbing into the 80s, you start getting a whole new generation of players. There's Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, you had Oscar Robertson, who actually I think played also in the 80s or a little bit before, There are way too many players to name, but then once you start getting into the 90s, that's when the Jordan era takes over with the Chicago Bulls, And the crazy thing about Jordan is that he was so good that you would be hard-pressed to find another player before or after him who did anything close to what he did, Now, Jordan, he had his little dynasty with the Chicago Bulls with Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, a bunch of other really good players around him, facing some really tough opponents as well. But the thing is that after Jordan, the NBA, the basketball, the game of basketball itself started to change a little bit, you know, because you started getting a few different players who were kind of bringing their own spin to the game, you know. In the early 2000s onward, I mean, it was really difficult because, I mean, you had what, Charles Barkley, you had Muggsy Bogues, who was the shortest player in the NBA but who still played really well, you know. You had some other really offensive players coming in the game. You had Shaq, who was a freaking monster, you know. You had Vince Carter, Charles Oakley, one of the greatest rebounders in history. You know, you had a lot of really good players, you know. The entirety of Tim Duncan's career was spent playing in the Spurs, you know, and in the Spurs he became a very, very fundamental player, such that his name was the Big Fundamental, you know, his nickname. So the thing is that when you take all of these different players and mix them up, you know, you kind of see that they all bring their own thing to the table, you know. LeBron James, in my opinion, today is the complete package in the NBA because he can do no wrong. Well, right now he's in a bad phase, you know, he didn't even go to the Olympics because he was injured, you know, but like the Americans are so good that they won the Olympic gold medal in basketball without having a bunch of players. No, they didn't have James Harden, Steph Curry, LeBron James. They didn't have this other guy whose name I forgot. Was it Kyrie Irving? No, Irving went to the games. It was this other dude whose name I forgot. Or was it actually Irving? I forgot his name, but there were a few players. Chris Paul. Chris Paul didn't go. You know, a few other players as well. So, but they were still very dominant against France. You know, so and Kevin Durant was the MVP. No doubt he scored a lot of points throughout the games. But like, if you go back into NBA's history, you will see that there are different categories for different players, you know, because Michael Jordan, he was the best, you know, but he wasn't the biggest. If you really stop to think about it, for example, if rings, you know, NBA championships or anything to go by, then Bill Russell is the best because he won 11 of them. Nobody has even come close, buddy. You know, 13 years playing in the NBA and 11 freaking championships, you know. You want to talk about points? Well, Michael Jordan finished his career with 32,000. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar finished with nearly 40,000, you know. So there goes that too. More points than him. You want to talk about rebounds? Dennis Rodman is one of the best rebounders that the NBA has ever seen, man, you know. Charles Oakley was also pretty good, but I still prefer Dennis Rodman because the guy was really crazy, very aggressive, very offensive, but he would always have more rebounds in a game than he would, you know, points or assists or anything else, you know. So he was really, really good at rebounding. So there are many other different players, you know, who you can argue, like blocking, for example. I'm pretty sure anyone can block today, but I consider LeBron to be a beast of a blocker, you know, but there might have been a few others as well, but I still prefer LeBron. He's the best blocker that I've seen, you know. You want to talk about shooting three-pointers, you got my man Steph Curry, you know. You want to go a little further back, Larry Bird, who was a very, very good three-point shot, you know. A lot of really good players are shooters, man, you know. There's Klay Thompson today, I know, who's also just as good. But the point is that Michael Jordan is the best, even though he didn't exactly shine in every single category. Did you know that Michael kind of sucked at three-point shooting? Jordan was not exactly horrible, but he rarely scored three-pointers in his career, man. He was really good at the fadeaway jump shot, but usually those were in the paint, you know. But from outside of it, he just wasn't that good. Look, guys, I'm not trying to throw shade at MJ or anything, you know, that's not what this is about, because I did record a video talking about just Jordan, you know, and the title of that video was literally Michael Jordan the GOAT. I called him the GOAT, you know. I agree that Jordan is the greatest player of all time, but I do understand that different generations will not have too much to go on in terms of who the best is, you know. Like I said before, if you're a kid and you're starting to watch basketball now, maybe you caught Kobe Bryant at the end of his career there when he retired in... Damn it. When he retired in 2014, you know, or 16, sorry, he retired in 2016, you know, in his last game, he scored 60 points. It was freaking incredible. So you might have seen Kobe and thought that he was the best, you know. There's actually this symbolic thing that's kind of like Michael Jordan was the best and he was number 23, and Kobe was the second best. That's why he's number 24, you know, but he did also play with number 8 for a few years in his career. But the point is that you might think that Kobe is the best because you didn't see Jordan play ball, you know. Now, of course, you have YouTube to watch, you know. You can ask for the opinions of other people, you know, and watch documentaries. But if you watch any video on YouTube about the top 10 best basketball players of all time, whether it's top 5, top 10, top 20, top 50, man, Michael Jordan is gonna be number 1. I have yet to see one video where Jordan wasn't the first pick, you know, which is obviously very understandable. Now, the thing is that what I'm trying to do here is try to like see what encompasses the best, you know, because Michael only won 6 rings, you know, Jordan only has 6 championships, but you have to take into consideration how he got those championships, you know, because he won 6, yes, and the Chicago Bulls have never won anything without before or after those 6, you know, and he won those in a row. So he won the first 3 consecutively. He did the 3-peat 3 seasons in a row. Then he retired, played baseball, came back a year later, and then wouldn't you know it, he won another 3. So it was another 3-peat. So it's really impressive, man. So if Michael did not retire to play baseball in the year that his dad died, he would have definitely won 7, you know. So that's what you have to consider, you know. I mean, dude, he won them consecutively. So he had such a strong influence, not just in the game, but with the Chicago Bulls specifically, that they couldn't win without him. You know, it was the same team, but because you took out Jordan, they couldn't even get close to the playoffs, you know? So that's what you have to consider. And there are players who have won less titles, but, you know, they have put up more points. They have done more individually, you know, and done more for the team. LeBron, to me, like, if Michael Jordan ever has a successor and heir to the throne, it would be LeBron. But I still think that Michael will always be better simply because of his influence and his legacy, you know. He popularized the NBA in the 80s and 90s, man. It's because of him that a lot of people took an interest in the sport, you know. There were people who were watching basketball games just to see Jordan, you know, and they didn't even enjoy the sport. So kind of like me with swimming and Michael Phelps, you know, I recorded a video about him recently too, you know. Like, I don't even like swimming, man, or sprinting in the Olympics with Usain Bolt, but I watch those just to see those specific athletes, you know. And I'm sure that Jordan did the same for people with basketball, you know. He drew crowds, man. Like, this guy back in the 90s couldn't go anywhere without being mobbed. He had no privacy, you know. And like the Space Jam movie was kind of cringy with this because they kind of tried to make Michael be a regular person, even though he's Michael Jordan. I think they forgot about that. He was Michael Jordan, so it was kind of impossible for him to portray the character he was portraying. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that it's Michael Jordan, man. You know, it's Michael. Yeah, that's pretty much the point of this video now. It's Michael Jordan. Okay, look, the point is that we cannot deny that Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time. You know, he was the GOAT. There's nobody who even comes close. But I think that the reason he's the best is not even so much because of his individual skill or his titles or what he did, but because of what he changed in the game, you know. Michael Jordan became bigger than basketball. He was bigger than life back in the day, you know. He was the most famous athlete on the planet, man. I might even go on to say he was the most famous person on the planet, period, you know. Like, he was more famous than certain actors, man, you know. So, I mean, it's really crazy how he changed the game just by playing it, you know. And also his influences outside. He became a poster boy, you know, a lot of different endorsements. So he became bigger than the game that he played, you know. So when it comes to the best, it does come down to opinion, you know. But then again, when you say who the best is and who the biggest is, I mean, there's a fine line between opinion and fact. You know, you can have an opinion and say that, look, Kobe Bryant, for example, is the best that you've ever seen, you know. Me, for example, the best player who I have ever seen play ball is LeBron James, you know, because he's my generation. I actually am seeing him play right now, you know. I didn't catch him in the Cavaliers or the Heat, but I am watching him now in the Lakers, you know. Hopefully next season he's going to come back with some better performances, you know. He's going to come back from injury, doing much better, you know. But the thing is that he's the best that I've seen, you know, alongside Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, you know, those really good players. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the best players who I've seen, one of the best rookies I've ever seen, you know. So, you know, we have good players today, man. We have really good players. But the best in history, in my opinion, is Michael Jordan, you know. And Kobe Bryant comes in at a close second, you know, a little bit more of my generation there. But anyway, I think that's it, guys, you know. Let me know in the comments below what you think would constitute the best NBA player of all time. Like, who you guys consider to actually be the best and what criteria you actually follow to determine who you consider to be the best, okay? If you like basketball, I really hope you're going to participate in this here so we can communicate a little better regarding this, okay? And that's it for now, guys, all right? I felt good to talk about, get that off my shoulders. But anyway, if you happen to like this video, then please give it a like and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And also hit the notification bell to know exactly what time I release my videos, because I do that completely at random, okay? And that's it for today. This is Chazzy, signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.